So, welcome to another episode of our podcast and our YouTube series. We're going to be talking today about American Animals, which is half documentary, half scripted crime film. Any first impressions on American Animals?
My general impressions are, I like this film a lot. I was quite excited for this film. It was out of all the films I'd seen of 2018. This is like top of my list.
Out of every film you've seen in 2018?
I hadn't seen like yet.
Okay.
No, all the films I hadn't seen. Like I've got like, a list of films I want to see. This is probably on top of the list.
This is what you were most excited to see.
Yes, this is what I was most excited to see. It's because I like the premise. I like the idea of everyone very, very young. Because the story is about 4 recent college freshmen basically start trying to steal a collection of books from a university that one of them goes to. I think actually 2 or 3 of them go to. But
who actually went to the university? It was just the I thought it was just one of them.
It might have been one of them. I think it was.
Actually, no, it can't be, because in the film they said about they had exams on the same
3
day.
of them. So it was everyone except Ron, right?
Yeah.
Chaz, Eric, and Spencer.
Yeah.
Okay. I did really enjoy this film. I liked the premise. I liked what they did with the whole biographical thing, including the real people who did this. We had a good pace to it. It wasn't as good as I actually thought it was going to be, but I thought I would have liked it a little bit more. But what about yourself?
For me, in terms of my expectations of this film coming in, I literally heard about it about 2 seconds before we watched it when you told me. So I didn't really have any expectations. It seemed the trailer thing looked fairly good. But yeah, I think it exceeded my expectations. I enjoyed it. I wasn't, sometimes I'm funny. I love movies, but sometimes I just get bored watching them. If it doesn't engage me, I just get really bored watching certain movies. Yeah. And this one, it wasn't like that at all. I was kind of into it the entire time. So yeah, I really liked it. I think what made it, the first thing we need to talk about is what made this film stand out, and that I think is the style of it, right? The half documentary, half film. So what do you think about the actual style itself?
Well, I've never really seen. There's been a bunch of times where films say this is based on a true story, and this actually changes that, because at the very beginning it says this is a true story. Like,
but what does that really mean?
I think it means that nothing's like really fictionalized. It's all from the perspective of the 4 people.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all everything. Nothing's changed. It's just, which I can see actually being quite true, because I reckon a lot of times when they say this is based on a true story, like a couple of scenes are probably actually what happened, and then a lot of it is like fictionalized.
I mean, when it says based on a true story, I think that is giving the makers of the movie or whatever a creative license to do really whatever they want, as long as they keep the same subject matter and kind of the basic plot of what happens in real life. I think they can change whatever they want. They can add in scenes. They can. Yeah. So yeah, I think that happens all the time. So
this made it said that this is actually a true story, and it was told from a lot of the real people who did this have a lot of time to say like confessionals about why they did certain things, how it's going there. The film is a lot about perspective. So it's about Warren's and Spencer's perspective mainly, and there's some times where scenes change depending on if it's Warren or Spencer who's actually telling the scene, which I like. I remember when they were meeting the fence, that completely changed the person.
Yeah.
And I do like that was like a really cool idea.
Yeah.
I actually would wish they kind of would change. They played a little bit more of that, because I only did it a couple of times, and I would have liked a few more little just interactions in that way. But it's still very good. I've never seen the real life people affect the actual plot, because usually it's like, they may have like a 30 seconds at the beginning of the film, maybe like 30 seconds at the end of the real person, and then they're never seen in the actual story themselves. But these guys are all over the actual the film itself. Like sometimes even having interactions with the fictional versions of their characters of themselves.
Interact with the actors.
Interact with the actors.
It was definitely weird. So the real people must have been quite heavily involved in actually making the film, which is interesting. I wonder why that they agreed to, well, they wanted their story to be told.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I wonder why all four of them agreed to it, right? And obviously, after, I can imagine, I don't know the whole story, but I imagine after this heist happened, and they obviously, spoilers by the way, they all got caught.
Yeah.
And went to prison for 8 years. I can imagine that they obviously, I can't imagine they're still friends after that. So for them all to be involved in the same project.
They don't seem to be friends really anymore. The way they speak about each other is kind of a little bit resentful. Yeah. Because they all did this like kind of moronic thing.
Yeah, it was really moronic. I was thinking that when I was watching it. I know they were young, but that was so stupid. Why would you do that?
It was really stupid. I get that. I get the appeal. You have this like book which is worth like 12 million. You can like be like, oh, you can have 15 million pounds that's guided by one lady, and you can go in and just like stun her and then run away.
just stun her. Just stun the woman.
Relatively speaking, that's like pretty harmless like robbery.
A harmless robbery, but it's still.
Yeah, it's harder than like. One thing that I didn't actually like about this is that they had this. They had this kind of cool like ideas. They somewhat planned it out fairly well as they were going into it, but actually on the day of it just completely crumbled. Yeah, which is kind of probably quite realistic.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But on the second day they came, they actually changed. In the first day they had this idea of being dressed as the old men. The second day they just randomly went in as themselves. There's never really explained why they ditched the costumes of old men, because that's a good idea.
Maybe they did. Maybe we missed that.
Maybe, but like I feel like
that was the time when I went to the bathroom, so I think we could.
I feel like it's paying quite a lot of attention. But yeah,
that's true. What you said about the crime going wrong being realistic. Have you heard the Mike Tyson quote? Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like that, right? Yeah. Like you always, whatever you do in life, you have kind of somewhat of a plan, but it never always goes exactly as planned. There's always stuff that goes wrong. I think this is a perfect example of this in this film. But yeah, it's definitely put me off doing any bank heists in the future.
not me yet. I kind of might do that.
Yeah.
But
I'm not surprised.
But what I did kind of like about this as well, the fact that they were thinking of this as in like this heist in like a really immature way, and the fact that they kind of wanted it to be like a movie. They talk about Reservoir Dogs quite a lot, and which I like is it's kind of relatable. And I was saying like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go in, everything will be fine, and we're just gonna get away with all this money. We're just gonna be badasses. You'll be Mr. Pink, you'll be Mr. Blue, and all that this sort of stuff. So that they were thinking it's going to be this amazing moment in this life that's going to change their lives forever, and they'll have this one. They'll be rich. They'll have this one thing that they've done, which is really daring, without relatively hurting, with low amount of guilt.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though, because for me, even when I was 18, I would never even. Think about, even if I had that opportunity, there's no way that I would agree to go in and rob some, even though it was, you're right, it wasn't a very extreme robbery in the scale of robberies, but it was still a robbery. There's no way I would ever do that at 18. But I think you at 18, you would would be.
I'd definitely play with the idea. I'd definitely fantasize about it. Be like, and if I had like a guy like Warren, which. Next to me, I probably would have actually just gone over it.
Come on, Warren.
If I had someone like pushing me, like a couple of people who were like pushing me, who really also like the idea, I'd definitely I'd at least get to like the planning stage. Yeah. And I'd probably, I'm glad I didn't, because this is exactly, the film is probably exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
But those days are behind me.
We'll see. But I think you brought up an important point, which is guilt, and I think this was hands down my favourite thing about the movie, is how they played on the guilt aspect after the robbery had been completed, and the four characters struggling with guilt in their own ways. And I mean the scenes themselves were I don't know, a bit cheesy, I guess, with the guy kind of crashing his car, and I don't know if that was real or not, but I guess it was. But I think what they were trying to tackle there, which was the notion that crime and just doing bad things in general is never really worth it. Not because you're going to get caught, which you probably will, but because of the guilt you feel makes the actual robbery itself or whatever you're doing wrong not worth it. I think it's not about the crime itself, but it's the fact that you're going to be feeling bad within yourself for a long time after that.
You're always going to be looking over your shoulder. You're always going to be thinking about what the things you could be, the damage you kind of cause. Even, they're always going to be thinking. You can tell that I think all the real people actually talked about. The thing they regret is hurting this woman. Or a relative, she only got like pushed to the floor and like tied up, which is and slightly says, okay, she kind of got actually hurt. But like they all still feel guilty over it. What, and it's like 14 years later now.
I think the thing is, and what's interesting about this movie is that these guys aren't hardened criminals, right? They're just kids, like college kids or whatever, school kids. So I think most normal people would feel very guilty about that. Like, unless you're like the type of person that can do a robbery or a crime like this with no guilt whatsoever. I'm sure those type of people do exist. Most normal people would feel intense guilt even for over like a very small thing. Because we do, right? Even in our everyday lives, you do something, you think, oh, that was a bit like, that was wrong or whatever. Even very small things. I do anyway. I feel very guilty about doing that thing. So it shows that's kind of multiplied in the situation. But I like the way it portrays that in this film.
Yeah, it does focus on that quite a lot, and that's one of the main like takeaways from it is that there always a bit of guilt. No matter people fantasize about some grand idea, and when it really comes down to like real human emotions that get away of like fear and guilt, and because like the actual plan was good kind of when they were going into it seemed like a pretty decent plan, but when they really got to it was just they completely botched it like every way. They didn't have an escape, they didn't have the right escape plan. They were planning to tase the woman, and they kind of just tied her up and put her masking tape over her lips, and then they were they were never able to like tase her correctly, which is kind of weird. And they were all rushing about, and they were like so it was like a complete mess because it kind of got to realistically how like a robbery would go, because with all the fear kind of racing around your body, you wouldn't be able to think straight. You wouldn't be able to plan like correctly as you would from someone looking as like a future thing.
The Mike Tyson quote, right? Okay, so I mean, let's not go on too long about this. But what are your overall thoughts on the film? Would you recommend it?
There's one thing the one thing I don't like, or another thing I didn't really like about it, is that you never got to know the characters that well. And the main four characters, the main guys, the main character is really Spencer. And all I really know about Spencer is that he likes movies and art. And I didn't really know his personality too much. Yeah. And like he just seemed very like quite depressed in the beginning, and then he got, as they were planning this heist, he got more thrills. Warren you got to know a little bit more of. Warren's more like an extroverted like personality, which I guess is like easier to portray. And the other two are like Eric and Chaz. Like I don't know anything about these characters. Like Eric was kind of smart. Chaz was Chaz was I don't know, what was Chaz? He was a getaway driver, but that's it.
No, but you're forgetting something. Yeah. And you are right, you didn't really know them very well, but when you met each character, they did a little backstory on each character.
They did a little bit, yeah. It was very forgettable, because...
I remember. But yeah, the Eric character was like, he wanted to be an FBI agent, he was kind of training in that. And there was something else as well. I think maybe he wasn't...
He didn't trust Warren, because they were having like an argument when they first got together.
And it was their friendship that kind of brought him into the fold. And also Chaz was...
Chaz went to high school, but he wasn't like their friend.
Chaz was rich. Chaz, remember, it had the whole bit about Chaz being an entrepreneur from the age of 10, and then when he was 15, he bought his first property. So it's not that relevant to the actual story itself, but he did give you a bit of backstory on the characters.
It did give you like a little bit, but like I think it's something I've had a problem with the writing. Their personalities, the individual personalities, never really came out much in the actual script. Yeah. Like he never really minded. It was like, okay, you have this kind of background, but like I don't know you as a person as much as I would like to. I don't know his characters. That's my main like gripe with it, is that there's not much character development in the film.
Yeah, there's not. The characters don't have much of an arc, right? They just
don't really.
Maybe none of them really. There's no arc. Even the main character, it's kind of like it was a bad idea, and it still was a bad idea to do it. Yeah, but they did it anyway. So yeah, I agree. But I think maybe it hurt the film a little. But I feel like it still worked, and it's not too detrimental.
Yeah. That's what's keeping me from like a really good film. I think it's a good film. But yeah, it's one of the things that keep me from loving the film. Yeah. But like I do like my characters, development and stuff. Yeah,
it's a good point. I agree with you, but it is what it is. For me, anyway, to wrap up, it's not it's not a 10 out of 10 film, but it's a good film and one I didn't really see coming. I've never heard of this film until you told me about it about 2 minutes before we watched it. So. I thought it was a good time, and I definitely recommend this to anyone watching this podcast. Yeah. Same as you? Same
as me, really. Like, I don't think it's like an amazing film. But it's definitely worth watching if you enjoy like crime films. If you enjoy a little biography. Yeah. If you like true crime films, this is obviously like right up there.
Actually, for me, I do love heist films and true crime films.
Yeah, so I do enjoy heist films as well. Yeah. It's kind of in my wheelhouse, and it is good.
So that's maybe what we like to.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd recommend it. Thank you for watching today's episode. We'll be back next week with a new film. What it's going to be, I don't know.
None of us know.
None of us know. But thank you, and we'll see you next time.